Every single day, thousands of Magnum ice creams roll off the production line in a symphony of cold steel, creamy swirls, and glossy chocolate. In this high-speed world of frozen perfection, fresh cream is churned to velvet smoothness, while molten chocolate glistens, waiting for its moment to coat each bar. But behind the scenes, there's a split-second process so precise, it can make or break the iconic snap you hear with every bite. How do they keep every bar identical while working at such blistering speed? And what hidden step locks in that unmistakable Magnum crunch? The making of Magnum ice creams begins long before the first drop of cream hits the mixing tanks. And the story is as much about global supply chains as it is about a frozen treat. At the heart of every bar is a blend of smooth dairy ice cream and crisp chocolate, two components that originate from very different parts of the world. The cream and milk powder that give the core its rich texture are typically sourced from large dairy producers in Europe or Oceania, where pasture-fed cows produce high-quality milk with a butterfat content ideal for ice cream making. These raw dairy ingredients are transported in refrigerated tankers or spray-dried into powdered form for easier handling, then shipped to the factories where production takes place. Chocolate production, on the other hand, starts thousands of miles away in cocoa-growing nations along the equator, with Ivory Coast, Ghana, and Indonesia among the largest suppliers. Each year, the global cocoa industry produces over 5 million tons of beans, with a significant share destined for confectionery manufacturers like the ones making Magnum bars. These beans are fermented, dried, and shipped in massive container vessels to processing facilities in Europe, where they are roasted, ground, and refined into the silky chocolate used for coating. The origins of this frozen delicacy date back to the late 1980s, when European ice cream manufacturers sought to create a premium handheld dessert for adults. Unlike traditional sticks coated in thin shells, Magnum bars were designed with a much thicker layer of chocolate and a denser, creamier filling, a deliberate move to set them apart in a market dominated by children's products. The concept was a commercial gamble at the time. Luxury ice cream on a stick had to justify its higher price tag, but it quickly became a runaway success across Europe before expanding into global markets. Today, production facilities on multiple continents turn out millions of bars every single day, with some of the largest factories capable of producing over 1 million units in a 24-hour cycle. In a modern manufacturing plant, the process begins when raw dairy arrives at the receiving bay. If the milk is fresh, it must be stored in insulated silos at temperatures just above freezing to preserve quality until processing. Milk powder, cream, sugar, stabilizers, and emulsifiers are weighed and blended according to precise formulations that have been tested for both flavor and texture consistency. The blending tanks, which can hold thousands of liters at a time, are fitted with high shear mixers that ensure every ingredient disperses evenly. This liquid ice cream mix is then pasteurized by heating it to around 85 degrees Celsius for 15 seconds to eliminate harmful bacteria before being rapidly cooled to just above freezing. This step not only ensures food safety, but also primes the mixture for aging, a process where it rests for several hours in chilled tanks to allow the fat to crystallize and the stabilizers to fully hydrate, giving the finished product its smooth mouthfeel. The chocolate coating follows a completely separate but equally intricate preparation route. Cocoa liquor, cocoa butter, sugar, and milk powder are combined in large mixers, then refined between heavy steel rollers until the particle size is reduced to around 20 microns, finer than a grain of table salt. This refinement is crucial to ensuring that the chocolate snaps cleanly when bitten into. The mixture is then conched in heated troughs, a slow churning process that can last anywhere from 4 to 72 hours, depending on the flavor profile required. Conching develops flavor while driving off unwanted acidity and moisture. Before use, the chocolate must be tempered, a precise heating and cooling process that encourages the formation of stable cocoa butter crystals. giving the coating its signature glossy finish and crisp texture. The challenge in making a Magnum bar lies in uniting these two components: the soft, aerated ice cream core and the rigid chocolate shell, without compromising either. In the production hall, the ice cream mix is pumped into continuous freezers, where it is aerated and frozen simultaneously to around -5 degrees Celsius. This rapid freezing locks in the microbubbles of air that give the product its lightness, with tolerances so tight that even a millimeter's deviation could cause the stick to emerge skewed in the final product. Coating the frozen cores in chocolate requires impeccable timing and temperature control. The bars are unmolded and pass through a curtain of liquid chocolate, which is kept at a precise working temperature, warm enough to flow smoothly, but cool enough to solidify quickly upon contact with the frozen ice cream. If the chocolate is too warm, it will melt the outer layer of the ice cream. Too cold, and it will thicken prematurely, creating an uneven coating. This part of the process is fully automated, with conveyor systems synchronized to ensure each bar receives an identical coating. Some variations include additional layers, such as caramel or nut inclusions, which require secondary dipping or enrobing steps. From an economic perspective, the cost of producing a Magnum bar varies depending on the price of raw materials, which can fluctuate significantly. Cocoa prices are particularly volatile, influenced by weather patterns, political stability in growing regions, and global demand. In recent years, cocoa futures have reached record highs, prompting manufacturers to balance sourcing from different origins to manage costs while meeting sustainability goals. Dairy prices are similarly affected by feed costs, energy prices, and agricultural subsidies. Large-scale producers benefit from economies of scale, buying ingredients in bulk and operating plants at high capacity to spread fixed costs over millions of units. The balance between automation and manual labor in Magnum production leans heavily towards the former, though human oversight remains essential. Machines handle mixing, freezing, coating, and packaging at speeds no workforce could match. Yet operators monitor the lines for defects, adjust settings in real time, and perform quality checks. For instance, visual inspection systems equipped with high-resolution cameras scan each bar for irregularities, such as incomplete coatings or misplaced sticks, and automatically reject defective units. However, trained staff still carry out random sampling for taste, texture, and aroma to ensure that each batch meets brand standards. Transporting raw materials to the factory is a logistical feat in itself. Cocoa mass and butter are often shipped in solid blocks that must be melted down before use, while dairy powders arrive in moisture-proof sacks or bulk containers. Sugar is delivered in tankers or large bags, depending on the facility's setup. To ensure freshness, just-in-time delivery systems are used for perishable items like cream, minimizing storage time on site. The incoming goods department coordinates closely with suppliers and transport firms to ensure all ingredients arrive in the right quantities and at the right temperatures. The time taken from receiving raw materials to producing a fully frozen, coated bar ready for packaging can be surprisingly short, often less than 24 hours. However, much of the preparation happens behind the scenes, in the roasting of cocoa, the aging of dairy mixes, and the tempering of chocolate, all of which are essential to the finished product's quality. Over the decades, the production of Magnum ice creams has evolved dramatically. Early runs in the late 80s were slower, with smaller batch sizes and more manual intervention, particularly in the coating process. Today's high-output lines can produce upwards of 60,000 bars per hour, with far greater consistency and lower wastage. As consumer preferences have shifted, the range has expanded to include mini versions, almond-studded coatings, double layers of caramel and chocolate, and even plant-based options, all of which require adaptations to the production line. The popularity of Magnum has grown to the point where it is now sold in more than 100 countries, with particularly strong markets in Europe, Australia, and parts of Asia. In the United States, the brand had to adapt its flavor profile slightly to suit local tastes, adjusting sweetness levels and experimenting with new inclusions. Seasonal releases and limited editions also play a role in keeping the brand in the public eye, with production schedules adjusting to meet spikes in demand during warmer months. Maintaining quality across such vast output is no small feat. Temperature fluctuations during storage or transit can cause sugar bloom or fat bloom on the chocolate coating, leading to a dull appearance or grainy texture. To prevent this, strict cold chain protocols are enforced from the moment the bars leave the factory until they reach retailers' freezers. This requires close coordination with distribution partners and constant monitoring of refrigerated transport. The process, from sourcing the first liter of milk to sealing the final wrapper, is a complex choreography of agriculture, engineering, and logistics. It draws on expertise from farmers, food scientists, mechanical engineers, and supply chain managers. While the consumer experiences only a few indulgent minutes of enjoyment, the journey behind that moment involves thousands of kilometers of transport, countless hours of preparation, and decades of innovation. This is what makes the making of Magnum ice creams not just a feat of food production, but an example of modern manufacturing at its most precise and global in scope. And that wraps up our journey into the fascinating world behind every Magnum ice cream, from the farms producing the richest dairy to the precision machinery crafting that unmistakable chocolate snap. If you've enjoyed seeing how much work, skill, and science goes into creating something so simple yet so indulgent, there's a whole lot more to discover. Stick around and check out another one of our Food Factory deep dives. You'll be amazed at the incredible processes that turn everyday ingredients into the treats we all know and love. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss our next behind-the-scenes look. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What's your all-time favorite Magnum flavor? Or maybe there's another food-making process you're curious about and want us to explore next. Share your ideas, and who knows, your suggestion might be the next one we bring to life.